Early in the 1990s, John Gottman, a psychologist, started an unorthodox path to find the secrets of enduring, good relationships. He started with a singular experiment rather than thoughts or hypotheses. Gottman developed what he termed the Love Lab in a quiet, elegant studio apartment equipped with microphones and concealed cameras. His innovative research took place in this comfortable environment with a kitchen, dining area, and canal view. A year later, 60 married couples were invited to spend a weekend in the Love Lab. The directions were clear: continue your life as you would usually do. These weekends saw events far from the passionate, soul-bearing confessions one would find in a lab meant to investigate love. Rather, the couples participated in the daily, everyday chats that occupy every home. Could you grab me a cup of coffee? Look at this comic strip. From outside, it could have seemed ordinary, even boring. Gottman concerned himself as much about his experiment failing. But he discovered something when he sieved through hundreds of hours of video. Grand gestures or lengthy talks were not the secret to solid, lifelong partnerships. It was concealed in these little, apparently pointless interactions. The most important thing was how couples interacted in these situations, how they responded to what Gottman would define as bids for connection. Imagine yourself reading a book at home when your spouse abruptly exclaims, "It's a bit chilly in here, don't you think?" Surface-wise, it's just a basic temperature observation. But delve a little more and you will find that it is really a bid for emotional connection. Maybe your friend truly wants to curl up close and experience your warmth. These kinds of bids are all around. Whether it's a buddy, a boyfriend, or even a coworker, these are the little inquiries, remarks, or gestures we use to connect with others. Did you check out the game last night? Want to pick up a coffee? Wow, take a look at that sunset. Every one of them is a faint call for connection. Our response to these pleas will either strengthen or sour our relationships. 3 responses to a bid are turning towards, away from, or against it. Suppose you recently came upon a fascinating piece and told a friend about it. Your friend is turning towards your bid if they set down their phone and interact with you. They are turning away if they dismiss you or switch the topic. And if they react angrily, they are negating your bid. Every answer conveys a message about the relationship itself as well as about the current issue. Gottman's studies demonstrated that good reactions to bids form the basis of strong relationships. Couples who regularly turn towards each other's bids create a reservoir of goodwill that will enable them to overcome problems and strife. Conversely, partnerships distinguished by constant turning away or opposing bids are probably going to go worse with time. Usually, bids are not simple. Many times, they include easily missed hidden messages. For instance, it's easy to see a child's tantrum following toy denial as a basic expression of rage. The outburst, however, may really be a parent's attempt for comfort and reassurance. Likewise, when a partner says, "Why don't you ever call me when you're at work?" It may appear like a critique, but it's actually a call to more connection and communication. Recognizing these secret messages calls both empathy and a readiness to go past appearances. It's about realizing that the complaints, critiques, or even fury of a partner could be manifestations of more underlying wants and needs. Carefully and compassionately responding to these bids will help to turn a possibly bad encounter into a chance for intimacy. Consider Rick and Sarah, a couple, consulting Gottman for therapy. Rick had fragile self-esteem as his grandma had grown up disparaging him constantly. Though Sarah's intentions were kind, Rick heard echoes of his grandmother's harsh words when she chastised him. Conversely, Sarah had learned early on to repress her wants, which resulted in explosive outbursts when she could no longer control her frustrations. Frequent misunderstandings and disagreement resulted from their lost bids for connection in translation. Rick and Sarah may better understand and react to one another's bids by realizing the emotional legacy each brought into the marriage. Rick came to understand Sarah's concerns as statements of her unmet needs, not as personal attacks. By learning to more gently and clearly communicate her demands, Sarah less likely to set off Rick's anxieties. Building and preserving relationships depends on bids, which are more than just requests or comments taken under hope for the best. The answer you get might be much influenced by your bid technique. By softening your bids, that is, by gently, non-confrontational expression, you will help the other person react favorably more easily. If you find your spouse working late and missing dinner frustrating, for instance, you could snap, "Why are you always late?" A milder bid, nevertheless, may be, "I miss dining with you. Is there any way we might schedule more frequent occurrence?" The later strategy encourages a productive discussion and raises the possibility of a favorable answer. Gottman personally discovered this lesson the difficult way. Frustrated that his wife Julie was still working in the basement while the family was waiting for supper one evening, he yelled, "Stop working. Family time is approaching." Julie felt assaulted, not surprisingly, and reacted defensively. When Gottman thought back on the episode, he saw that a softer bid, that of expressing, "We miss you. Come up and eat dinner with us as soon as you can," would have been significantly more successful. One day does not build relationships. Thousands of encounters over time have produced these outcomes, each one either adding to or removing from the total link between two people. A single negative response to a bid won't destroy a relationship, but over time a pattern of negative responses might weaken it. On the other hand, always leaning towards bids strengthens the bond and creates a reservoir of goodwill. According to Gottman's studies, husbands replied adversely to their wives' requests for connection a startling 82% of the time in couples heading for divorce. In steady couples, that number was just 19%. The lesson is clear: although it is hard to react properly all the time, most of the time sustaining a good connection depends on trying for positive, encouraging reactions. Declaring no without rejecting. Finding a method to say no without disappointing the other person is one of the toughest parts of handling bids. Luckily, one can turn down a bid and still be headed towards the individual making it. Consider, Jim asks Linda, a colleague, to lunch, but she is too busy working. She may say, "I'd love to, but I'm swamped right now," instead of saying no outright. Instead, how about we have coffee after work? Linda respects Jim's bid by providing an alternative and keeping the door open for next contact. This strategy holds true in any circumstance whereby you cannot or do not want to accept a bid at face value. The secret is to honor your own wants, while nevertheless affirming the other person's urge for connection. Thoughts on final notes: the authority of positive patterns. Our attitude to bids goes beyond the here and now. It's about creating interaction patterns that over time define our relationships. Every bid and answer are a brick in the building of the relationship. The foundation gets stronger the more pleasant contacts we have. The next time someone contacts you, perhaps with a straightforward inquiry, a request, or even a complaint, stop and think about how you may approach that bid. In a marriage, a friendship, or a business partnership, these little interactions of connection might sum up to something really significant. One bid at a time, relationships are developed. With each favorable answer, you are establishing the foundation for a closer, more contented relationship. Emphasizing the need of identifying and reacting to bids for connection, Love Labs guides us on creating and preserving solid relationships through constructive communication.